And I'd like to introduce our speaker this evening. Nanette Napoleon is a freelance historical researcher, writer, and lecturer who focuses on the history and cultures of Hawaii. She is best known as being the state's leading expert on historic cemeteries and is the author of the book Oahu Cemetary, Burial Ground and Historic Site. She is currently writing a book titled Hawaii's Sons of the Civil War. Please join me in welcoming Nanette.
Okay, thank you all for coming. I recognized many of you here today who are regular lecture goers. We see each other at all the lecture sites around town. And some new people. You're a first-timer?
No.
Oh, who's a first-timer? Nobody? Okay, regulars. Okay, good. I'm very happy to be here today to give this lecture. I developed it about 5 years ago, I think, and I've been busy the last few days revising it to update it, kind of thing. So before I start the lecture, let me see a show of hands.
You don't need to use the mic. Good.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah, right. He mic'd me. It's in my pocket.
This mic will come back on our Q&A, though.
Raise your hand if you've been to Mauna Ala before. All of you?
Inside or outside?
Well, okay, good question. How many, okay, if you've just been on the grounds, raise your hand. Okay, if you've been on the grounds and in the chapel, raise your hand. Okay, so you haven't never been in the chapel? Never been in the chapel? Just outside? Okay, good, because I'm going to talk about what's outside and what's inside to give you a visual information about that. How many of you have ever been on the official curator's tour of the cemetery? Just a few of you. With me, yeah, okay. Yeah, I've given my own tours of Mauna Ala, but the caretaker, the kahu there, over the years, they've always given tours there. But only not on a regular basis, like once a month or something. You always have to call in and schedule an appointment to do a tour. So I think that's been harder for people to get on tours. So again, if you've never been on the tour, this is sort of like the PowerPoint version of the tour, the in-life tour. Okay, so let's move on to the history of Mauna Ala. Next. So to tell the history of Mauna Ala, we have to go from the year 2018, 153 years in the past, to the date 1824. 1824. Next. In that, oh, you know what? Can you make it the screen a little smaller because it's chopping off some of my text? How do we do that? We have to move the thing closer? No, that's not going to work.
Yeah.
See.
No, I'm not quite sure.
Zita, where's Zita?
We'll chop off the other ones? Only this one, right?
This, maybe only that one. Okay, we'll try. So let's go back 153 years to the year 1824. This was the year that King Kamehameha II and his queen, Kamamalu, went on a diplomatic mission to London, England, with an entourage of many people from Hawaii. And they were there in 1824 when a measles epidemic breaks out, and the whole entourage, almost all of them, got sick in one form or another. But only the king and the queen died there. The others survived. Okay, next. After their death, the King of England, King George IV, took on the responsibility of paying for their funeral cost, all their funeral arrangements, which was really elaborate, very elaborate, and paid for their caskets to put their bodies in. The caskets are interesting because they were, and these are the actual pictures of the actual caskets. The outer part is mahogany, and mahogany even today is quite expensive. It's sort of like the gold standard of wood for caskets, and it was then. So mahogany outer casket, and then a lead-lined inner casket. Now, the lead-lined inner caskets only came about during this particular period because cremations were becoming popular at this time in the just kind of on the horizon, and so sometimes we put a body in a wooden coffin, just a wooden coffin. When the body deteriorates, and if you're trying to transport the casket somewhere, it deteriorates the body quickly. But if you put a lead-lined the mahogany or wooden casket, it preserves the body more. Although in real life, it didn't preserve them that much longer. So mahogany on the outside, then lead-lined on the inside, and then was going to go on a ship for a months-long voyage, so they put these caskets into an oak crate to protect it in the hold of the ship. So altogether, all of those materials each one weighed up to 2,000 pounds, about 2,000 pounds. So the king paid for that, and then they put them on this ship, the HMS Blonde, and over a several months voyage, the Blonde lands in Honolulu, and unbeknownst to the people in the kingdom that they had died, okay? So here comes the Blonde, and then all of a sudden everybody's getting the announcement once the ship docks, and it spreads like wildfire across the kingdom. The king and the queen are dead. They're dead, you know. It was a big traumatic experience for the whole of Hawaii. But here they were. They had come back, and they died in 1824. But the ship arrives some months later in 1825. Next. Now, there was a dilemma in the community of Honolulu, because in this period of time, there was only one American-style cemetery in Hawaii, and that was the cemetery at Kawaiahao Church in Honolulu, right across the street, which the Protestant missionaries had came in 1820, and when their missionary brethren started dying, they started burying them at Kawaiahao. But Kamehameha and Kamamalu, there was great debate in the community. These are our royals. They were born before the missionaries came here, kind of thing. And how should we bury them? There was a lot of discussion. What should we do with their remains, their bodies, their caskets? And there was some debate in the community about that. And because Hawaii had been influenced by Westerners since the time of Captain Cook, about 30 years prior, and because the missionaries had just come here in 1820, just 5 years before, and they were influencing so many things in our land already, they were also influencing how we here, the residents here, were thinking about, Hawaiians were thinking about, well, how now should we bury our dead? And so some were adopting the Western-style cemetery concept. But then they decided, well, these are our royalty. What was the traditional way that ali'i were buried in pre-contact Hawaii? What's the answer to that? What?
Bones in the cave.
Bones in the cave primarily. What? Anything else?
Burned in the emu.
Burned in the emu sometimes, but then you would burn them in the emu, put them in the emu to remove the flesh, and then they would get the bones, and then bones in the cave, pretty much. So, but the decision was, because of Western influence, to build a mausoleum. A mausoleum is a Western term, a Western building. Hawaiians did not have mausoleums of any kind, buildings of any kind. Well, in the sense of a Western-style mausoleum. But they did have built, I'll talk about what they had before in another slide. So what they decided to do, the government of the kingdom decided to build a Western-style mausoleum. And here's a picture of it in real life, right here. And you can see that it's plastered over, but underneath here are coral blocks. And then they plastered over the coral blocks and then whitewashed the coral blocks here. And then we're not sure what the roof was actually made of. Whether it was halepili, it doesn't look like halepili, but we're not sure exactly what it was. And it has a door it's the Ewa facing, we're Ewa facing over here. So it was 14 feet wide by 18 feet long and 10 feet high from here to here. Okay. No windows, just the door at the Ewa end of a heavy wooden metal door at the Ewa end. And then it actually had stairs leading down below grade, and then it leveled off, and then that was the place where they had the Eevee over here, down below grade. Okay. Now, what is this building? Where is this building situated, and what is this building? Where was this building situated?
Is that the original Iolani Palace?
That's good. The original Iolani Palace. Some of you may not know that there wasn't the palace that is right a few feet from us here is not the first palace. The original palace is the second palace. So this was the first palace. It was originally a private home, and it was converted during King Kamehameha II's time to become Iolani Palace. It was only a two-story building. It wasn't exactly a cottage. It was a home, so it was fairly big. And then later on in the palace that we know it today would be over here. This is the space where the archives right next door, about where the archives is, right next door to us over here. And then this would be King Street today. King Street, and this is Punch Bowl Street right here. And this is Richards down over here. Okay. And if you walk out, how many of you have noticed that there's still remnants of that structure over there? Okay. How many have been to that structure and actually, good. But for those of you who have never been over there, let me show you some pictures. Oh wait, before we get to that, so while they're building this new concept mausoleum, word gets out in Hawaii, and chiefs from around the islands, they're wanting to bring their Eevee from wherever, relocate them from other islands and other locations on the island of Oahu to go into this new mausoleum. And they did. They brought them from all over. They brought them from Haleokeawe and Honaunau, which is now called the what?
City of Refuge.
City of Refuge, or Pu'uhonua o Honaunau in Hawaiian. So they came out of this heiau, plus several others from around different places. They also came from various burial caves, such as this one. Next. Now, burial caves are everywhere in the islands. Some are at ground level. Some of the burial caves, there's burial caves at Ka'awaloa, which is at Kealakekua Bay. How many of you have been there? Good. The Cook Landing is over here. And so you come down the mountain, and then here's the big bay. And all in here were different caves of one sort or another. That was a popular burial place. Next. Okay. So how many individuals were placed in we're going to call it from now on the royal tomb, the first royal tomb. Not Mauna Ala. This is not Mauna Ala. This is the royal tomb. We don't know how many exactly were placed in there. Somewhere from 30 to 60, maybe. We're not sure. Next. This is what you would see if you go walk outside the door here, a few paces away, maybe 100 yards from here. And what you see now is a very beautiful site with an wrought iron fence around it and tea leaf growing in it. Now this was not there in the original structure. When the original structure was there, this was all put in our times. In fact, in the late 1990s, this was put in. The burial, I'm going to show you a closer up picture. Here's a picture of the fence, and then inside you'll see a mound, a dirt mound. I'm not sure when that mound got there, but the fencing came in later on in the 1990s. I'm going to show you close-ups of the signs. The first one says, site of the first Royal Mausoleum and Crypt, built in 1825 to house the remains of King Kamehameha II and Queen Kamamalu, who died in England in July 1824. Used as a royal tomb until 1865. And then the second sign says here, Kapu. Only authorized persons are allowed in this historic burial ground. Please do not enter. Today, 24 individuals still remain in the royal tomb at Pokaina, now, including the mother of King Lunalilo, Miriam Kekauluohi. Now, the name Pokaina refers to this immediate area around here in the Ahupua of Honolulu. So it's very specific to this immediate area. And there were chiefs that came, the chiefs of Pokaina, the chiefs were in here, and from outlying areas, they brought them to here. So sometimes it's mostly referred to as at the royal tomb at Pokaina, or just the Pokaina tomb. Okay. Next. Now we're going to move ahead till 1862, when a very pivotal event occurs in Hawaiian history, a very sad event in Hawaiian history. This was the year that the only child of King Kamehameha IV and his wife, Queen Emma, passed away. His name was Prince Albert Edward Kauikeauli, a.k.a. also known as Kahaku o Hawaii. Kahaku o Hawaii. He was only 4 years old when he died. And when he died, it was considered the most tragic event, maybe even as great as when King Kamehameha the Great died. Because he was the great hope of the nation of the Kingdom of Hawaii. Because so many of the diseases had come to Hawaii by then, and many children were dying. More than adults. You know how children are more susceptible to diseases and such. And we don't know exactly how he died, but there's been speculation over the years. Different modern-day doctors have studied this thing. You know, okay, here's the evidence we have, and what do we think he really died of? Some say brain fever, some say pneumonia. But the brain fever thing seems to be the most prevalent of those, although his symptoms were very severe. He had seizures, he had he did have high fevers. He had, and he was sick, very, very sick for about a week before he died. And it was, the whole kingdom went into mourning because it was such a sad, sad thing. Next. So now the king and queen have the decision to make. Where are they going to bury their beloved little boy? And now that, we're still moving towards westernization and all of those things. And so they decide, and because, remember, the original Royal Mausoleum, Pokaina Mausoleum out here, was built in 1825. This is 1862. So a number of years later, the tomb was full, or next to full, okay? So when their little boy dies, they put him in that tomb, but they say they kind of squeeze him in. There wasn't much room in there. And then they decide, well, we need to build another royal mausoleum for the future. And we'll put our little boy in Pokaina until this new mausoleum gets built. So they decide on placing it in Nuuanu Valley. And here's a picture of the valley in the 1850s, which looks, what's the difference between how this looks in this picture and the valley if you were standing at the same vantage point? Well, what's the difference? No houses, of course. And in this particular, they're not even depicting very many halipili. I don't even see one halipili in here. We got already adobe structures or wooden structures over here. And I'm not sure what building that is. I'm not sure. That's a pretty prominent building. But now, today, if you look up the valley, you got all invasive plants, all trees, all the big trees you see in all of our valleys are 99% are alien species, invasive species. But they decided to put the building there next. So the king and queen are making plans for the new mausoleum, but then only, oh, sorry, this is not coming out because we didn't set it up too good, that great, but it'll work. So right here it says that King Kamehameha the fourth, just a little over a year, he dies. He dies, and he's only 29 years old. Okay. A lot of people, most people who are speculating and written in the time, most of them say he died really of a broken heart. He was a young man. Although he had some health issues of his own, they say mostly that he died of a broken heart. Now, the queen is not only lost her little boy, but she loses her beloved husband. And so King Kamehameha the fourth, Kamehameha the fifth, the fifth, steps in. He's the next successor, and he helps the queen with continuing the plan for the new mausoleum. Okay. And the Privy Council authorizes funding for the construction of the new mausoleum. So the Privy Council hires a German man named Theodor Hueck, who was born in Hamburg, Germany, and was trained as an architect, carpenter, and engineer. He came to Hawaii in 1850. In 1859, Hueck was commissioned to build Queen's Hospital. And in 1863, he was commissioned to build the new mausoleum in Nuuanu. Okay. So then, when this portion of the new mausoleum up in Nuuanu is going to be shaped like a cross. The footprint of the building is going to be shaped like a cross. And in 1864, this portion was built, and then the king and his son were interred here. Okay. And so to orient yourself, this is Eva facing, this is Diamond Head, this is Mauka, and this is Makai. And here's the entrance. You go into the entrance here. Okay. On October 30th in 1865, the remainder of the mausoleum is completed. So now it's the whole structure is completed. This would be Eva. This would be facing Mauka, the back side of the structure. This would be facing Nuuanu Street Road then. But that was the earliest completion. Okay. So now I'm going to show you chronologically when people went in and when the different structures within the whole property, which was 3.5 acres. From the original mausoleum, okay, it was known as the mausoleum until it became known as the chapel. And I'll tell you how that happened. So basically, this is an outline. Here's Nuuanu Avenue. You come in the main entrance, and there's a circular driveway all the way around. And this is where the original mausoleum was. But now I'm going to take you through the other structures. There's the Kamehameha Vault is there, Charles Reed Bishop Monument, the Wyllie Tomb, the Young Grave, and the Kalakaua Crypt. So let's, in chronological order of when they were built, let's take a look at those. Now, ironically enough, the first person to be, Westerner to be buried in there was John Young. And his second wife, Kaonaeha Young, and his son, James Young Kanehoa. So if you go in there in the back of the main building, you see this structure here. And it's a small platform with, now there's some posts around it, but that wasn't there originally, and there's some cannon muzzles that weren't there originally and were added later on. But this whole thing is still there. And the inscription reads of this plaque right here, "Beneath this stone are deposited the remains of John Young of Lancaster, England, the friend and companion in arms of Kamehameha, who departed this life December 17th, 1835, in the 93rd year of his age and the 42nd year of his residence in the Hawaiian Islands." Now, John Young wasn't originally buried here. He actually died in it says up here, he died in 1835, right here. And he was originally buried at Pokaina. Well, he was originally buried in Kauai High on the Big Island, moved to Pokaina when it was being transformed, and then now he goes to Mauna Ala. Next. Now, who was John Young? John Young was not Hawaiian, and so how come a non-Hawaiian ends up in a very royal mausoleum place? Okay? That's because he became very, very close to King Kamehameha I. He was born in 1849 around, and he died in 1835 in Hawaii. He was a British subject of Scottish descent. This is the Olowalu, he becomes part of the story of the Olowalu massacre in 1790, which was a very famous story in Hawaiian history, although it's been lost to contemporary audiences today, learners today. But if you get a chance, please go online or go to the library and you can find a book on the Olowalu massacre, a book that has a story about it in it. And it's a fascinating story, and it's too long for me to talk. That's a whole lecture, just the Olowalu massacre. So I'm going to try to make it as short as I can. So in 1879, there were two American ships. One was named the Eleanor, and the other captained by Captain Simon Metcalf. And then there was another ship, a companion ship, the Fair American, that was captained by his son, Captain Thomas Metcalf. So Captain Simon, the father, Captain Thomas Metcalf, the son. On the Eleanor was John Young, and on the Fair American was a sailor named Isaac Davis. The Olowalu massacre happened on the island of Maui. The two ships were fur trading vessels, and they were from America, so they came around the Horn, they'd go up to the Pacific Northwest, collect furs, and then they would, for the eventual sale, primarily in China, but they would always stop in Honolulu or Lahaina and reprovision and sell goods their goods in Hawaii before transporting either to China or taking some goods all the way back to America. So they were in Hawaiian waters going to Honolulu, or on their way to Hawaii. The two ships who were sailing close by to one another got lost, and a storm came up and they lost each other. But they had always, when they traveled like that, ships did this if they were partnering with other ships. Before they left their destination, where they were, they always said, okay, if we get lost and separated and we can't see each other and we don't know where each other is, we know we're going to rendezvous in such and such a port at around such and such a time, within a month or so. And that's exactly what happened to these two companion ships. They were in a storm, they got separated, but they knew to rendezvous in Maui. That was their rendezvous destination. So Captain Simon Metcalf, he arrives in Maui first, and all hell breaks loose. All hell breaks loose. There were incidents of Hawaiians going onto the Eleanor and stealing things, a boat even. There were retaliations by Captain Metcalf, who was said to be a very tyrannical, Captain Blighish kind of guy. And he retaliated in various ways, and so there was this thing going on between them, conflict going on between them, that ended in a massacre at Olowalu that John Young wreaked upon the citizenry of the village. He opened up all his guns, cannons that they had on the ships, and bombarded Olowalu. And it happened over a period of several days, and there was a lot of destruction going on both sides. The end result was over 100 Hawaiians were killed, massacred. Nobody aboard the Eleanor was killed. Okay, so that's happened. And then unbeknownst to the sun, Captain Thomas Metcalf, he makes it to Maui as well, and he hears all this news about what happened with the other ship and his father and everything. So they have pilikia going on now. And so they get attacked, and there's this battle going on again. And in the end, everybody aboard the Fair American was killed except one man named Isaac Davis. John Young, who was on here, had survived this encounter with Captain Simon, and some other ones survived as well. But now we have John Young and Isaac Davis, and the two ships eventually leave Hawaiian waters, but Young and Isaac Davis are left behind. They're still here. And King Kamehameha I finds out about them, and he embraces them and doesn't retaliate against them, because what do you think that was? What do you think that was? That he wanted to befriend these two American guys, sailor guys. What? They had knowledge of what? Guns, technology. What other reasons would he want to befriend them? For what purposes would guns and technology, what purposes would that fulfill? Conquering the rest of the islands, exactly. It would give him more power to conquest, far beyond the ihes, the spears, and the slings, and the typical instruments of war. This would give him a tremendous military advantage to have this technology. So he embraced John Young and Isaac Davis, and he gave them lands. And other people gave them lands too. Chiefs gave them lands, and they both married Hawaiian women, which increased their power. John Young and Isaac Davis, and so they became quite prominent in the Kingdom of Hawaii. Next. Here's a depiction of in 1795 when Kamehameha the Great invades the island of Oahu, which was ruled then by the Ali'i Nui High Chief Kalani Kupule. This invasion involved around 1,200 war canoes, and over 10,000 warriors. Can you imagine that? What a sight. And I've read numbers of accounts from Hawaiians and non-Hawaiians saying this was the most massive buildup of Hawaiian army ever in their lifetime, maybe, and in the memory of many, many people. So it was a huge invasion. So they do, Kamehameha comes from island of Oahu, island of Hawaii, and goes to the island of, then he was on Maui, then he goes to Oahu. Okay. Now you can see, I like this picture, this is a Herb Kane picture, all of you recognize that, this picture. This is these are Brooke Parker images, the artist, Hawaiian artist Brooke Parker. In here, Kane really captures the movement and the activity on the high, war on the high seas. And what is this right here? A little mini cannon, yeah? So these were taken off of other Western ships that Kamehameha had been accumulating. And they brilliantly attached these little cannons to double-hulled canoes and used them in the battle. I love this picture. I love all Herb Kane's pictures. Okay. And John Young and Isaac Davis were pivotal in giving Kamehameha the great information about how to use the cannons and how they could best be used to his best advantage. And it made a huge difference, right? Next. So now they're on Oahu, and you know the story of the landing on Oahu, and they march, Kamehameha marches his forces up, pushing Kalakaua forces up the valley, and eventually the battle ends here at the Pali, where, of course, we know that many of the men were forced to, or on their own accord, jumped over. Some escaped over this high cliff and all the way over down and escaped this way. Some escaped over this way. But many of them went over, and some of them are still down there. The Evi are still down there. Now, comes to 1887. We're going to start with the structures that are started coming up after the chapel and turned into a mausoleum. So here's, in 1887, a crypt, underground crypt, was built underground here. Later on, an above piece was installed. So there's inscription on all four sides of this. I'm going to show you who's buried here. But before we do that, what are these two things right here represent? In Hawaiian, what's the word for those? Not kahili. Starts with a P. Close. Pu lo'u lo'u. Pu lo'u lo'u. I have to always think about that one. And what were they used? This is a modern interpretation of those. I'm going to show you what they look like in real life in a minute. But what were they used for? What was the purpose of a pu lo'u lo'u? To keep away and to know that this is something. Yes. They're also known as kapu sticks. And so all the chiefs of the land had pu lo'u lo'u, and if they were walking about, traveling about in the community, their entourage, the person at the front, would carry these things, and among other things, to show their rank and that they were chiefs, and that the people should prostrate themselves or remove themselves from the area. But more specifically, they would be placed in the front of their dwelling sites, in front of temples, to say, kapu, don't come in here, commoners keep out, kind of thing. So here's now, in modern times, the pu lo'u lo'u are being used as a kapu. This is a sacred place. Okay. Now, why would all of this be there? When do we find so much stuff coming on blaze and things? Upon what occasions? It happens numbers of times during the year. Why would people go and put this much flowers on top? anniversary of their death. And what's the group that usually goes there to do that? Especially for the Kamehameha tomb. The school, Kamehameha school children. They bus them in by the busloads on the anniversary of the death. And so this is right after that, one of those occasions. So let's take a closer look at the front inscription panel. So you have here Kamehameha the second, Kamehameha the third, Kamehameha the fourth, Kamehameha the fifth, and then Kahaku o Hawaii. That I referred to before was who? The little boy, the prince, okay, of the little boy of Kamehameha the fourth and Queen Emma. So that's how they decided to list his that wasn't his real name, but that was his honorific name, Kahaku o Hawaii. Some people have translated this as to be the Prince of Hawaii, but that's not the literal translation. Haku, you need to break this up. Ka, second word, haku. Haku means master or lord in the sense of, if you think of medieval England or someplace, you had lords of the land and you had masters of the land. So he was, in that sense, the new lord of the land. Okay. And then Emma, his mother, here. Okay. Next. On another panel, it says Paki, who is Abner Paki, father of Princess Pauahi Bishop, Bernice Pauahi. Her mother, Konia, Laura Konia, mother of Pauahi. Bernice Pauahi, Princess Bernice Pauahi Bishop. Keola, son of Princess Ruth. And Keola Nalani. Keola o Nalani, another son of Princess Ruth, who both died. One died as a baby, one died as a youth. Okay. Here's Abner Paki and Laura Konia, and this is Queen Emma.
Paki and Konia are Hanai parents of Lily and Kalani.
Hanai parents? Yeah. Yes, Hanai parents, right. Then we have Kina'u. Okay, back one slide. Oh, I'm sorry. Did I? Oh, I put the wrong picture. Yeah, go back. Great, now I'm a little confused.
No, that's Emma, and the next one is Pauahi. It's the young picture.
Okay,
That's Pauahi.
Pauahi. Okay.
Yeah, she's just doing the younger version.
Okay, next slide. This one we have Kina'u, a chiefess. Kekuanaoa, Mataio Kekuanaoa, who was the governor of Oahu. David Kamehameha, which was a descendant, not the original Kamehameha. Kekuaiva, Moses Kekuaiva. Victoria Kamamalu, here. And Princess Ruth Ke'elikolani. Okay. Next. Then we have Kamamalu, not the original Kamamalu, but another Kamamalu. There were two Kamamalus. Oh, wait, excuse me. This is Ka'ahumanu. Who was Ka'ahumanu? Wife of King Kamehameha the Great. Yeah. But this is not her. There was a second Ka'ahumanu. Okay. Then we have Kamamalu. Kalama, who was the wife of King Kamehameha III, Leleohoku, who was a sibling of sibling of Queen Liliuokalani and David Kalakaua.
Leleohoku, the sibling, is in the Kalakaua Crypt. This is Ruth's first
Wait,
husband.
Leleohoku,
Or first one. Either first husband or a child.
I can't hear you.
A relative of Ruth. The Leleohoku that is a sibling of Kalakaua is in the Kalakaua Crypt.
This is a different Leleohoku?
Yeah.
Who does he belong to? Oh, that, to Ruth? Yeah. Okay, thank you. And then William Pitt Kinau. Okay, next. Now, noticeably absent from this list of Kamehamehas is Kamehameha the First. What happened to him? Where did he, what island did he die on, first of all? Island of Hawaii. He was from the island of Hawaii, and he died in 1819. And we don't know exactly where he was buried. We know who took his EV and had the responsibility of burying him, but we don't know where he was buried exactly. And archaeologists and anthropologists and historians for over 100-something years have been trying to find that out, but nobody knows. Nobody has found that out. But we do speculate, of course, that he was probably, his bones were probably wrapped in what are called ka'ai, and these are what we in Hawaiians sort of like caskets, okay, but made out of, it's a bark cloth on the outer part, but underneath here is the vine of the ihe vine, which sort of like cane, you have a cane chair made out of cane, sort of like cane-ish plant-like material, very strong. And so there would be a framing inside this of ihe, and then covered over by a bark cloth or other materials. And then the iwi were sewn into these ka'ai. So that's how most ali'i were buried with inside, first put in ka'ai and then buried. Now, most are King Kamehameha, I mean, people could be buried in ground caves or in sea caves. We don't know which one that Kamehameha could have been buried in. But somewhere we think in Kohala, because that's where he came from. And there's some first-hand accounts that they might be there. We don't know. Nobody, there has been absolutely no, and don't let anybody tell you they read somebody said they know where he's buried, because nobody knows where he's buried. Next. So then in 1904, the Wyllie tomb is built. Where do we know that name Wyllie in the community? Wyllie Street, just in Nuuanu. So who was Wyllie? Now, before we go there, this is closer to the front gate here. And it's the largest, except for the mausoleum chapel, this is the second largest structure on the property. And it has the names of the people who are entombed here underground again, around the outer parameter there. So let's see who's in here. Robert Wyllie is in here. He was born and raised in Scotland, became a ship's surgeon, then successful merchant. He arrived in Hawaii in 1844. He first founded Princeville Sugar Plantation on Kauai, and Princeville alluded to the Little Prince. He built that in his honor. So he did that. But he's mostly known for the fact that he served as Minister of Foreign Affairs for over 20 years under 3 different ruling monarchs. So he was quite important in the history of the Hawaiian Kingdom. He never married, nor did he have children. Let's see. On October 12, 1865, the rest of the mausoleum is completed. And in a few days later, in 1865, Robert Wyllie dies, and he's entombed there. Oh, wait, on October 30, he dies on the 19th. He's entombed during the day on October 30th, and at night, 19 caskets and 2 ka'ai are removed from Pokaina and are relocated to Mauna Ala. Okay? And then in 1904, the underground vault built to house Wyllie and the Queen Emma is built, 1904. It's completed. So here's the 9 people that are buried here. And it's kind of a complicated genealogy. I'll just point out the main people. So you have John Young. We know John Young now. His Hawaiian name was Olohana. His second wife was Mary Kaonaeha. They had 4 daughters, 3 daughters and 1 son. Fanny, Grace, John, and Jane Lahi. So all the people in blue are buried in this crypt, in the underground crypt. So we have Fanny, Grace, John, and Jane. And then we come down here, we have another guy named Bennett. Namakeha, brother of George, up here. It's too much genealogy to cover. So then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, Dr. Thomas Rook. He's another guy like Wyllie, no Hawaiian, but look who he marries. I mean, look who he has no children, doesn't marry, doesn't have children, but look who he hanais. Queen Emma. And that's how he gets in here. Okay. Queen Emma was actually from George over here and Fanny, but he gets hanai'd to Dr. Thomas Rook, who was a close family friend. And then we have Thomas Rook, and then 5, 6, Bennett. 7 is Peter Kaeo, who was hanai'd from another line, comes over here. 8 is Albert over here. Albert was one of 2 twin boys. So that's 8. And then the next one is Robert Wyllie. Okay. So a lot of people don't really, everybody has never been there or taken the tour or anything. They assume that everybody in there is Native Hawaiian. So we see that they're not, because we have Thomas Rook, we have Robert Wyllie, we have John Young in there. Okay, next. So then we go to the year 1910, when the main original mausoleum gets full up. They started splitting off people, saying, oh, can't take any more guys here. We need to build this mausoleum over here and this mausoleum over here and start moving them out. So that's what they did. So they built, when it was so full, they wanted to move everybody from the Kalakaua line, and they built this underground crypt. How many of you have ever been inside that crypt? Okay, a few. And yeah, you can look through the door, and I'll show you how. If you go there, you can look through the door and see into, without a tour or anything. So here we have the grounds. This is the Kamehameha tomb over here. This is the Wyllie tomb, and this is the Kalakaua crypt. And this is about a 20-foot, very large obelisk to mark it on the top. Next. So there are 20 people in this underground crypt. In 1875, members of the Kalakaua family are moved from Kauai Church Cemetery to Mauna Ala, not from the Pokaina Royal Mausoleum, from Kauai. So there were a lot of Kamehamehas over there, and they moved them directly from there into Mauna Ala in 1875. Then in 1907, a new underground crypt. Wait a minute. I did some revisions in the last few days. I may have gotten something wrong here. A new underground crypt was completed, and then the Kalakaua family was moved into the new underground crypt. Oh, I have to double check on that. Next. So here's the listing, and then I'll show you some pictures of inside the crypt. We have the great-grandfather of King Kalakaua and his siblings up here, the great-grandfather. The parents of Kalakaua, Liliuokalani, Princess Likelike, Prince Leleohoku, and another son who most people never heard of, Kaimi Na'au here, are buried here. And then, that's the 8th one. The 9th one is Kapi'olani, Queen Kapi'olani, who was the wife of King Kalakaua. John Dominus, who was the husband of Queen Liliuokalani. Archibald Cleghorn, who was the husband of Princess Likelike, Miriam Likelike. Princess Ka'iulani, who was the daughter of Archibald Cleghorn and Likelike. They're in there, as well as Ka'imi Nau'au. Okay. Continuing on, we have Virginia Po'omaikelani, who was the sister of Kapi'olani. Now, it's interesting that the King Kalakaua and Queen Kapi'olani never had children of their own. So the dynasty is continued not directly through the Kalakaua line, but through whose line? It becomes Kawana Nakoa line through Esther Kinoiki Kekaulike, the sister of Kapi'olani. This is where the Kawana Nakoa line comes in. So Esther marries David Pi'ikoi and begets the 3 princes, Jonah Kuhio Kalana Anaoli, Edward Keli'ia Honui, and David Kawana Nakoa, who married Abigail Campbell, who turns into the Kawana Nakoa lines, and that's how we get the Kawana Nakoa lines. Not directly from King Kalakaua, but from his wife's sister. It's complicated. Okay. So when you get to the top level, the ground level, and you want to enter into here, there's about 15 or 16 steps down below grade, and you'll see a big iron gate and with these symbols on it. Next. Beautiful wrought iron gate, and then the royal seals here, other images with gold leaf on it. And then at the bottom of the stairs, it looks like a mat in the photograph, but it's actually a metal grate because they needed a way to drain water. This is it's open. You walk down from this, not an enclosed walkway that goes down. On heavy rain days, the water goes down those steps. And they needed a way for the water to dissipate underground. So they built a drainage system underground, and this is a water grate that allows the water to go under and dissipate out, direct it away. So you can come down, if you're not on a tour, you can stand here and look inside. There's no glass or anything. You can peek inside here, and then this is what you'll see. Next. Oh, before we go, look. This is the gate, middle of the gate, and it says Kalakaua Crypt Gate and Kawana Nakoa Memorial. And the royal seal, and then the key, the original key to this door, which the curator, also known as the kahu, still has and uses. And this is my hand. One time on a tour I was there, not the current curator, but 2 curators, his grandmother gave me this key. I was not about to ask to handle that key. But I brought a group, and Auntie Namahana, who was the previous 2 generations ago, she offered it to me. And so I got chicken skin. At first, I didn't want to handle it. I said, oh, no, I'm not worthy. But she said, no, Nanette, you here, So she let me handle the key and let me open the door. Oh, I was kind of shaking. Okay, next. So if you have the opportunity, ever had the opportunity to actually go, where they open the gate and you can go in, either on the tour or you go on a day when the kids are having their ceremonies over there, or any other group, Hawaiian Civic Clubs go there all the time. You try looking in the newspaper when they're having those. Anybody can go. So go, and they open the gate, and you can go. Everybody's welcome. Directly, you're looking directly into, you enter, and this is the wall, first wall you see directly ahead of you, King Kalakaua and Queen Kapi'olani. Then there's a wall on the left and the wall on the right, and a bust of the king, two busts of the king. I don't know why they have two busts of the king. And of course, this has been after one of the visitations from one of the huis or one of the school groups. And marble, white marble inside. And these are deep crypts, as long as this here, that go into the wall. And then casket or evi without caskets are in here. Next. Another view of that, closer up. Okay. Here's the crypt for the Queen, last sovereign of Hawaii, died in 1972. Here's it's laid out a little bit better. What was the question? No.
1917.
What did I say?
72.
Oh, sorry. keep me going. Okay. Now here's a picture. Wait, go back a little bit. One minute. This is Princess Ka'iulani right here. Next. I have a closer up shot. Now we have kahili. Everybody knows the kahili is for a Hawaiian standard symbolizing li'i. Okay, feather standards. But who knows what this is for and why it's here, these feathers. What kind of feathers are they? Peacocks, and who do they represent? Who's Ka'iulani? Was her favorite bird was the peacock. So that was her, and that's why this is there. Here's some different pictures of Ka'iulani, who died in 1899. Before she was a designated heir to the throne, but she never got there because of various political reasons. Long story. That's another lecture. Okay. So here, I had to piece this together because I didn't have a wide angle on my camera, but this is one wall. And you have, this is not King Kalakaua, this is later down generation. And I'm not going to go over everybody over here, but just to show you how it's laid out in there. And the Kuana Nakoas, lots of Kuana Nakoas appearing over here. Okay. And then we come out from that and we move over to the Charles Reed Bishop Memorial. Now, when he died in 1815, he was 10 years from living in Hawaii. He was living in San Francisco. And he dies in San Francisco, and his family, he had remarried, and his son brings his ashes back to Hawaii and places his ashes in the Kamehameha vault on top of his wife, Bernice Pauahi Bishop. And then later, they build just a memorial stone to him next to the Kamehameha crypt. So he's not actually buried in here. He's buried next door over here in the Kamehameha underground crypt. Okay. Okay, next. So then we come back to what today was originally known as the Royal Mausoleum, but then got converted over time. When it became full, then they started moving the Kamehamehas out, and the Kalakauas went over here, and so forth and so on. And so everybody's moved out, and they convert it to, in 1822, they renovate the whole building inside to become, and was dedicated to be a chapel. So let's take a look inside what is known today. But before we go inside, let's look at the architecture outside. In general, what do we know this style to be in European architecture? Gothic, okay, early Gothic period. And Gothics buildings are known for high-pitched roofs, and then in the early Gothic period, these are called buttresses. these pieces that are going up, because without buttresses, even though stone walls are built straight up, the higher the stone wall goes, the more likely they are to buckle, no matter what kind of stone you use. So they figured out that they could brace up these walls and go higher by putting additional buttresses on them. Okay? So in the early period of Gothic architecture, these buttresses were very shallow. They didn't come out far from the walls. But as the walls got bigger in the later Gothic period, in medieval times, okay, the buttresses came out further. Some were called flying buttresses because they came way out, you know. They came like out here, then came out, and then down. They were, but we don't have any flying buttresses in Hawaii. This is low-level buttresses. And then you can see very high-pitched roofs. And then the entry, this is the entry, and you go up some stairs. So let's look inside. So you go up the stairs and you have to enter through this, again, a beautiful wrought iron gate. Here's a picture of it. I love wrought iron gates, the beauty of them when they're done to this extent. So you can walk up the stairs, and usually it's locked unless there's an event or you're on tour, an official tour. But you can go up and you can look inside. There's a little outer anteroom here that when you're on tour, you have to take off your shoes or slippers and leave them over here or on the steps. And so they open up in a little room there, and then an inner door made out of wood. So let's go inside the inner door, and you're coming in this way from the door, the outer door, and you're coming in, and then you see two inner open doorways there. Now, in the whole entire inside, there's like 5 or 6 different wood used at different parts of the inside of the structure. And I'm not going to talk about all the woods, but here's some koa out here. And we have a kahili. And then you go inside, and there's seating. I'll show you how the seating goes on the inside. So this is that outer room. And in here, we have 2 main features. This is a pulo'ulo'u again, the kapu sticks. And this is a reproduction of, not an actual one from ancient times or anything, a reproduction of one. And there would have been kapa in the olden days, but in modern times when people have made them, it's out of muslin or some other kind of modern cloth. And then this is what's called a casket bier, B-I-E-R. So the casket would be placed upon the bier for display. The caskets, the real caskets are where? What happened to the real caskets? I'm not sure. Do you know where the real caskets went?
The caskets are in the tombs.
Yeah, they were in the tombs. They're down went into the below Kamehameha tombs. Yeah. Okay, so next. Wait, go back again. Go back. So this bier is a plain one, not much ornamentation. The next one on the other side of the room is more ornate in design. Okay. Next. Now here's another view of the inner part of the chapel. And there are 5 pews on this side and 5 pews on this side, and they sit like 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30 maybe on this side and another 30 on this side. So about 60 people sitting here. And then the altar here with kahili. So let's take a closer look at that altar. Oh, before we go there, next one. We got some stained glass windows. And the lighting was added later. Okay, next. Side windows. Okay. Close-up of the altar, and it says in Hawaiian, hemolele, hemolele, hemolele. What does that mean in Hawaiian? Holy, holy, holy. And then there's a cross in this panel, and the alpha and omega symbols Greek symbols for beginning and end here. Yeah. Beautiful.
Have there ever been services in that chapel?
What's that?
Has there ever been a service in that chapel?
Yes, there's been many services in that chapel,
Even to this day, are there?
even to this day.
For what?
When new people have been, or services for like, who was the last big one I went to over there? Who was that famous guy that, DeSoto Brown's grandfather? Kenny Brown. Was it Kenny Brown? Yeah, he had a service over there. That was a huge service, huge. Did you go to that? Yeah, I was supposed to go, but I was sick that day. But I heard from many people. There were thousands of people there. So they do still have services over there. And before that, the one I actually attended was for Auntie Namahana, Lydia Namahana, who was a former curator, who was my mentor. And then when she died, she had a big service over there. But I was amazed that she was not actually buried here at Mauna Ala. Even though she worked there for so long, she was buried across the street, down the street at Oahu Cemetary. So we gathered here, there were so many people, I never got to go in here. I had to stay outside because there were so many people. And her family and friends got to go inside. But there was hundreds of us on the outside. And then we processed. They closed down half of Nuuanu Street. And we processed down and went into Oahu Cemetery and did a service over there.
How about Abigail Kawana Nakoa? Do we know where she'll be buried?
Abigail Kawana Nakoa, that's living today? Okay, we'll get to her towards the end. Because, yeah, there's some story about that.
Are there any conditions in terms of who can have access to do services there? Do they have to be buried on this site or Oahu Cemetery?
Are there restrictions on who can have services there? That's a good question. Usually it's only groups like Hawaiian Civic Clubs or Kamehameha schools, or somebody has to ask the current kahu to have a service there. And it depends who they are in the community, who you are in the community. You can, so pretty much the main criteria is that you need to be Native Hawaiian, but I'm not sure that that's always going to be the case. And so you just have to get approval by the kahu.
I just want to mention if there's any other questions, could we save it for the Q&A?
Oh, yeah, okay.
We do want to like record it as well.
Oh,
so
okay.
Kind of aligns with it,
Okay,
but it's pretty soon though.
okay. Next. Okay. Now coming to the end, and I wanted to show you the list of kahu or caretakers that have been associated with, had the responsibility of caretaking for Mauna Ala, beginning with the first one back here in 1865, Nahalau, then followed by all of these people down, and then turns into the Beckley family, a couple of Beckleys, and turns them to William Bishop Taylor, and then the two Taylor guys, and then who's Iolani Luahine? Who was she in our history? The hula, kumuhula, very famous of her when she was alive, was one of the most famous of all kumuhula or hula dancers ever. And to this day, she's venerated greatly. So she ends up being kahu at Mauna Ala. Then comes Lydia Namahana Taylor Maioho, who was my mentor. And I first met her because when I first started doing cemetery research work, and parallel to that, I was learning about pre-contact burials and learning all of that stuff and becoming involved in all of that stuff. And I was having some inner turmoil, conflicts in all of those things I was doing. And so somebody suggested I go talk to Auntie Namahana and get her kuleana and her mana'o get her, not kuleana, but her mana'o on the things that were concerning me. So I had a number of long talks in the cottage with Auntie, sitting at her side with her holding my hand. And she greatly, greatly gave me insight into what I was doing and what I should be doing and how I should be doing it and how the things I should be aware of in what I was doing. But mostly, she encouraged me to the nth degree because I was having serious thoughts about whether I should be doing what I was doing, studying graveyards and studying buried dead people. And I was getting criticized, not criticized, but when I would tell people what I was doing, I would get teased a lot and saying, oh, you know, you like to study dead people. Oh, spooky, huh? Hey, you know, you sure you want to be doing that stuff? And so I started to doubt my passion, my thoughts to continue this work. But Auntie Namahana settled me down and gave me great confidence to continue on. And here I am, 33 years later, I'm still doing it. Okay? So then here we have,
Were you ready?
Yeah, go ahead. Oh wait, no, go back. So we come down to down 14. The 15th and current kahu is William. His nickname is Kai, my Oahu, who started in just a few years ago, 2015 to the present. His father was also William, but he went as Bill, my Oahu. Okay. And then his mother was Auntie Lydia. So these were 3 generations right here. But they're related to the Beckleys. So the Beckleys, my Oahu Taylors, were all many, many years involved in Mauna Ala. Okay. So altogether, there are 55 people buried in all the various crypts and graves at Mauna Ala. Next. Trivia question. What other ruling monarch besides Kamehameha I is not buried at Mauna Ala? King Lunalilo. And where is he buried? Kauai Church. Let's take a look at his monument. Yeah. How many of you have seen that? Okay. If you haven't visited that, go in. They usually have the gates open during the day, and you can go in and walk around here. You can't go inside, but they have a plaque you can read over here. Now, there's various stories as to why was King Lunalilo, why didn't he go to Mauna Ala? It was in his time. It's because, one of the stories is because he felt that his mother was slighted. She was buried at Pokaina, remember, from before? But when they began transferring everybody to Mauna Ala, she and a number of other people were left behind at Pokaina. And we don't know why that was, that some were left behind, but the king felt slighted. So he said, I'm not going up to there. I want to be buried with my people down here at the church. So he had those instructions they gave to his father, Charles Kanaina, and then when he died, his father built this mausoleum for him. I've only been in here one time on an anniversary of his death, but they usually have a service of some kind, opening, and people can go in. So keep an eye out for that. Not always. They're not as good as Mauna Ala as letting people in here. So he died in 1874, and this sign up here says this, Lunalilo Ka Mo'i, 1874. The term Mo'i is a more traditional term than king in Hawaiian culture. That was the highest ranking person of the land. Mo'i. So in 1900, Queen Liliuokalani and Robert Wilcox, who was a delegate to Congress, lobbied Congress to remove Mauna Ala from the public domain. A resolution was passed stating that the site would be used as a royal mausoleum in perpetuity, forever and ever. However, next. A lot of people, even today, have their understanding that the Royal Mausoleum is sovereign Hawaiian ground. Raise your hand if that's how you've been instructed. Sovereign. And if you disagree, we can have that discussion after about what I'm going to say next. Okay. It was designated to be a royal mausoleum in perpetuity, but today it is under the jurisdiction of the Division of State Parks, Department of Land and Natural Resources, officially on the government books. The kahus, in recent years, have been state employees. Okay? And a lot of people say that the Hawaiian Kingdom flag is, well, it is the only flag that is flown at Mauna Ala, and people say that's because it's sovereign Hawaiian ground, and that's why no other flag can be flown there. But I have some differing opinions about that, but I want to hear your opinions after. But on the official website, it says that it is a Royal Mausoleum is a state monument. We have numbers of state monuments on different islands, and it's a state monument. You can go to the website, and you can get the phone number of who to call, the kahu and everything, if you want to have a group of any kind that wants a tour. Next. So uapau, that's the close of my talk, and thank you for coming. Before we open it up for Q&A, I want to recommend 2 books to you. This one is called Tales of Our Hawaii, Tales of Our Hawaii, published by Alulike. And it's a great book because most of it is on the history of Mauna Ala, but then followed by that, it has the history of the Hawaiian flag in it, and it has the history of the Hawaiian coat of arms in it. And the seal, the seal of the government seal, and some other really interesting information. I'm not sure if it's still in print. You have to call Alulike to see if you can find it or find it online somewhere, but it's a great book. Another book, recently published book this year, is this one by a research colleague of mine, Ralph Kam, Dr. Ralph Kam, Death Rites and Hawaiian Royalty, Funeral Practices in the Kamehameha and Kalakaua Dynasties. So he's done of anybody's current scholar in the community, he's done the most in-depth study of the deaths and the funerals of ali'i in the Kamehameha and Kalakaua dynasties. Okay, so to open it up further for Q&A, or how much time do we have?
We do have to get out of here by 7 o'clock, so around 30 minutes.
Oh, yeah, okay.
But first,
15, so we have time to clean up.
oh, 15,
yeah.
okay.
Okay.
So it's a little short.
That's fine,
But,
15 's good.
I do want to say mahalo again to Auntie Nanette. After hearing her story about being ridiculed and maybe on the verge of quitting, I think it's a very great privilege that we get to see what she has shared of her EK that she shared today. So I think so mahalo nui for forging forward and your perseverance.
Yeah.
So I do want to open up for Q&A. If anyone has any question, we do ask to speak in the mic because we do want to record the question and the answer as well. So yes, any questions?
Let's go first to the flag question. I want to hear what these guys have to say.
Okay.
Can you, do you mind?
Oh, sure.
Or, Aole?
Can it reach?
Aole.
How am I? Oh, this is a task, yeah? Oh, wait. Yeah, we just have to repeat the question inside the mic.
The question is, what happened to the original flag that flew at Mauna Ala for
okay.
centuries?
Okay,
Oh,
so
the original
question-
flag, I thought you were going to say Iolani Palace.
Wait, so the question
The
was
original
The original flag
that
the
flew at
original
Mauna
flag
at Mauna Ala.
that flew at Mauna Ala. What
I
happened to
do
it?
not know.
Because
As you said, it was the sovereign land, which is true. Then all of a sudden, you see these so-called government flags flying now. But now I understand why the government flag is flying there, because it's under the state now. But originally,
the flag would have been the same. It would have looked exactly like the flag today.
Aole,
Aole.
it was the red background,
Oh, you're saying, which was a flag of whom?
Kamehameha.
The Kamehameha standard was
Yes.
flying.
It was the red background with the cross goes right through and the X goes right through. And there was only 7 lines, not 8. Like if you look at the government flag today, the cross goes through, the X stops. So my question to everyone, I took this a lot of places, what happened to the original flag? That's the same flag that flew above the Iolani Palace. No, then all of a sudden, you see so-called government flag flying at these places.
I've not heard that there was a different, a Kalakaua flag flying there originally.
50, it
But-
wasn't Kalakaua,
Oh, it was on Kalakaua.
it was Kamehameha.
Kamehameha's flag? I've not heard of a Kamehameha flag.
It's been there for years.
Been-
Ever since I was a little boy,
It was at Mauna Ala originally.
it's only flag.
But I'm not an expert on flags.
What happened to it? That's just my question.
One of our palace volunteers is an expert on flags and standards. If you'll send me the question, I will forward it to him and he'll get back to you.
What's his name? I think I heard him.
Doug Assman.
Yeah, but he did the last
Yeah.
series.
Oh, oh.
Oh, wait, he was the one speaking here the last time? I asked him that.
What did he say?
I don't know.
Yeah, he's done.
No, that's what he said. I don't know. I'll search on it.
Oh.
Yeah, we'll ask him. Well, if you put it.
I asked a lot of guys about that question.
Yeah, put it in a formal inquiry. He might not have written down your question to answer
Yeah.
Yeah,
last week.
I talked to him the last
Yeah.
time. But thank you very much.
Okay, other questions? Mike, over here? Oh,
So
oh,
let me finish
yeah, yeah,
what
yeah,
Hawaiian
yeah.
was talking about.
Yeah,
The corner insignia
on the,
on the flag we're talking about is a red backdrop
okay.
and the lines are
Oh.
all blue.
You know what? Let's look in here,
They're all blue. They're
Wait.
not bordered with white.
because here has pictures of different flags.
When was the book made? I'm gonna close it to look at the government flag.
Before we go someplace else.
I know, yeah.
I should have brought that before the book.
Okay, wait. Let's see if it has anything close to what you're talking about in here. Any of these look familiar?
Yeah, I know.
Now, if you look at the Union Jack, the bottom.
Wait, this is
Okay,
any,
yeah, if you look it down, it's a blue backing. You look at it good, the X stops.
this one?
Yes. See the cross goes right through?
Right here?
The bottom, side to side.
Yeah,
The X comes,
Yeah.
stops in the middle.
yeah,
And then it goes the other side, continue.
yeah.
Yeah. That's so-called government flag. Kamehameha's flag is just like that, red backing, 8 lines go right through.
Red backing instead of blue?
Yes. It's because Kamehameha didn't want to get stuck into the box. So his lines went right through.
More of a personal flag there.
Yeah, I had my history from my grandfather, who was here before me, and that's how I found out these
For
information.
Doug, can you draw a picture in color?
Or better yet, I'll bring you the flag.
And share, we can share.
I'm not seeing any red
I'll
background,
bring
but,
you the flag now.
Yeah.
Because I have that flag copyrighted and made. And there is a flag shop that did it to the exact measurements and everything. I have that. The reason why I did that, because that's Kamehameha's flag.
I don't know anything about
There is
that.
nobody here, you see all sovereign groups running their flags, nobody got that flag, but I have it on my truck, it's called the White Rose. In the back of my truck, it says Makaina, and I fly that flag. And a lot of people ask me, what is that flag? They said, that's not the kingdom flag, and everybody talks about the government flag. So I tell everybody, what came first, the kingdom or the government?
See, I'm getting confused on how you're using the terminology.
Well, I'm
Govern-
sorry,
Government and
PJ.
kingdom.
Well, this claiming.
Well, but you know what? That's it, we're getting,
Oh,
it's
I'm
getting to
sorry,
be
I'm
a,
sorry, I'm just trying to find an
Yeah,
answer
yeah.
about this. which-
thank you for bringing that up, but we're short on
Maybe
time,
not
so
everybody could try
I'm
to-
going to move on to another question. We had another question on
I'm
that.
sorry.
I was
No,
interested in the answer to her question about Abigail Kawananakoa, would she be somebody, could anybody else ever join? And then I just wondered what their responsibilities and privileges were if you were a kahu. What are you supposed to do?
Okay, let's look at, you're talking about Abigail Kawananakoa today. Okay, Keikau. Now, I have to ask you, because there were 3 Abigail Kawananakoas in history, okay? And so the Abigail living today is Abigail III. I call her Abigail III. So your question is, now some of you may have followed several years ago, there was the Princess Kawananakoa submitted a request to the Department of Land and Natural Resources that she be buried at Mauna Ala after she dies. And I attended the hearings down there, and I read all her testimony, and she had lawyers, and she had architecture drawings, and she wants to have a structure that looks exactly like the Wyllie tomb, same size and everything. But on the opposite side, on the Makai side of the circle, when you enter on the Makai side, and so I attended the hearings there, and it was pretty contentious. There were some in favor of having her there, and there were some not in favor of having her there for various reasons. Some say it was because she didn't have the genealogy and all kinds of things. But the bottom result was the board voted to allow her to be there. So she's going to probably, because of her age, she's going to be the next person to be buried at Mauna Ala. But I have questions about, my questions to the board was, who makes the determination of who can be buried in there? Because my research shows, in looking at the original founding documents, it's pretty broad about who can be buried there, but it says must be of Ali'i descent, kind of. That's the broad category. It's a broad category, right? But it has become now in modern times to be the Kawananakoa line who has gone in there the most. And that gives Keikau today her lineage to be there. But my question is, me personally, and I don't think anybody else has brought this up to anybody, but there's not, to me, shouldn't be restricted to strictly Kawananakoas coming down the line. And there are many Kawananakoas in our community. There are other people who claim Ali'i lineage, okay? I have Ali'i lineage through King Lunalilo's brother. And I'm going, well then, can I apply to Mauna Ala, to the board? And can I be buried there? I think I can, because I have the lineage. But who's going to decide that? Right now, you know who decides that? Is whoever the kahu is. And the board, at that series of conferences, hearings, they made it implicit that they gave that power to the kahu. And they are going to defer. Whoever the kahu says go there, it's going to eventually go to the board, and they will only rubber stamp whoever the kahu says. Now, I'm not saying that's necessarily a bad thing. That's how it's been through the generations and generations. But anyway, without getting too far into that. What was your second question about her?
Just more about that. What were the responsibilities and the honors that come
Yeah.
with being a kahu?
Well, okay, that comes with being a kahu. Primarily, the role of the kahu nowadays in modern times is to just be a manager of maintenance, a maintenance manager. Although, because Kai, who's today, he learned from his father, who learned from his mother, who learned from somebody else, he has that knowledge, that deep knowledge. So that's why everybody respects him, even though he's on the young side yet.
Clarify that deep knowledge of what?
Of the genealogy and who should be buried there according to who's been buried there in the past.
The history of the site, the history of the monuments, the history
Yes.
of the chapel. And Bill told us at one time their family is
Yes. And I had that in here in my original lecture, but I took it out. But when you walk outside here, is the seal out there? I mean, the royal, okay. You look over there, there's two men on there, and they were twins, Kamanava and Keli'i. Yeah, Kamehameha. And the Maiohos are related through the Beckleys back to them. One of them, those men. So that's an important part in Hawaiian history. You know, our genealogy and who we come from and the knowledge that descends to us from our ancestors is very important in who you are today, in the living human beings. So good questions. Can maybe one more question before we close? Anybody else? Yeah, up here. Yeah, go ahead.
You mentioned that 24 bodies are left behind at the Pokaina. When
Bodies were left behind,
yeah,
24
when
are still there?
They moved to Royal Mausoleum.
Right.
I thought that was only Lunalilo's mother, Keorohi.
No, there's others. Not only Lunalilo's mother.
And any idea who's
still there?
Yeah, the other 23 people.
Right. I'm not sure who that is. I've never seen an official list. I don't know if there's a list out there of who is actually left behind.
Is it the chiefs that you said all brought their bones over? Would it be them?
Yeah. You remember when it first opened, there was a call, the news went out, and the chiefs were coming and saying, I want to come over here, and people started getting, and I don't know if there was any kind of written, I've never seen any written list of who was in that first group, and then I've never seen a list of well, we know some of the royals, who the royals were, but then some of the other people in there, I don't know exactly who they were.
Or Alice.
Who the other elites were, besides the one I just talked to you about. Yeah, good question.
Thank you.
Okay.
Wait, let me run over there.
Oh, wait. Got it.
I know. It's got it. Is that, should be good? You know
We
what?
have a few more
Just
minutes
go for 'em.
before.
Go for 'em.
Queen Emma's biological father,
Queen, go slow so I can repeat. Queen Emma's biological father,
George Naea,
not George Naea.
he's buried at Mauna Ala. He had Hansen's disease.
He had Hansen's disease.
So he was one of the very first
To be
royal
sent.
elite, anyway, to be sent to Kalakaua. So he passed then, and I didn't know he was buried there. I thought he was
Oh,
buried
you
in
didn't?
another
Are
place.
you related to him, George
No,
Naea?
No,
Oh.
I'm a fan of Queen Emma. I love
Oh,
Queen
oh.
Emma. But I had no idea he was buried there.
Oh.
I find that interesting, considering the time.
Yeah.
and the lack of knowledge and the fear.
There was
of
another,
disease.
Peter Kaeo was another royal ali'i who was sent to Kalapapa also, who's also came over here. Yeah. Good question. Okay.
Then Bennett, who is in that area, he was Iolani's first husband.
Oh, Bennett was Iolani's first.
No, Hale. Emma's.
They were brothers, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So am I not mistaken, George is actually buried in Maui? The story I heard was.
George Naea?
George Naea was one of the first people, I guess, diagnosed with leprosy.
Oh, one of the first.
Well, because he was a high chief, they said, no, you're not going Molokai, so Fanny took him and hid him in Maui. They didn't know that the disease could be transferred, and that's why Grace ended up with Emma.
Oh, what?
That's why Grace ended up being adopted by her sister, Brooke, which is YMCA.
Yeah.
That was the house. But they didn't know about the disease being transferable from human to human.
They didn't know yet.
But because he was
Ali.
up there, they just put him in Maui, and he's actually, from what I understood, he's still buried there.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, and it was because they didn't know if the leprosy, the Hansen's team would jump, because I touch you.
Yeah.
So to save the queen, They sent her to Honolulu. And Fanny stayed in Maui until the husband died. Then she came back popping into social graces with all the queens. But she was supposedly the genealogist of that family.
Well, that's an interesting story.
Yeah, it's part of my genealogy bloodline. That's why I had to search that. And that's how I knew that.
Okay. Good one.
Thank you.
Okay, anything else? Did you have something? No? Okay. If that's it, I want to thank you again for coming, and please thank the staff at Iolani Palace.